they'll be glad to enter whatever order they want to terminate the conservatorship.
Why wasn't he adopted back then?
It didn't make any difference to the Tuohys. There was one way, there was one thing to accomplish, and that was to make him part of the family so that the NCAA would be satisfied, because Sean would have been a booster of the university. We've all seen that with our own University of Memphis and Coach Hardaway, but that was the reason.
Danny Wilkerson, Fox 13. Can you give me an estimate as to how much money the Tuohys have made off of The Blind Side, the movie, versus how much Oher has made off of that movie?
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, they've all, each member of the family has received the same amount of money. So imagine a pie divided by 5, okay? We estimate each person received $100,000, each person in the family.
Including Mr. Oher.
Correct.
Including Mr. Oher.
Correct.
That money, did it come directly to the Tuohys and then they divvied it up and gave Mr. Oher his portion?
That's correct.
Let me go on to amplify that. After, as we know, in 2004, in those years as an NCAA athlete, he couldn't earn any money. He couldn't have a job. He was straddled by the NCAA rules. So after that was over, Tuohy offered to CCA, I think it's called, we'll go ahead and send Michael's check directly to him. Well, they had to do a whole rigmarole. They confronted Michael with it. He suggested just leave it like it is. And every time Sean would get a check, he'd take a picture of it, he'd send it to Michael and send him a check. So Michael got every dime he had coming.
And they paid the taxes on it for him.
So when it comes to a trust fund set up for Michael's children, are there multiple trust funds set up? There was mention of that in, I believe, the statement given by the attorney for the family.
There was one trust fund set up for Michael Jr.
By the
Tuohys,
two.
because Michael Oher would not accept the checks.
Why do you think Michael Oher has made these allegations? What do you think is behind it?
We don't know.
One thing I wanted to ask, I was talking to a lawyer earlier today. Typically, when a conservatorship is set up, there's a GAL, or I think it was called guardian ad litem, to help act as a point person for people like Michael. But there wasn't any mention of that in the petition. What is this true? Was there no GAL?
It's funny you asked that. We were just looking at that. The GAL was waived by Judge Benham. He waived the requirement of a GAL. Remember this, Michael was 18. He was a party to the petition. His mother was there. And Judge Benham saw fit to waive the appointment of a guardian ad litem.
What has the relationship been like between Michael and the Tuohys in more recent years? Have they been in close contact? Has he still been, quote unquote, part of the family, or have they been a little more estranged?
No, he's been estranged since then, probably for the last 10 years or so, and becoming more and more vocal and more threatening.
So in the original filing too, Mr. Oher says that there's a document, a contract signed where it basically strips him of his rights and his name rights, and where he doesn't get any money out of anything coming. But he's not sure if his signature is the one on the document. He doesn't remember signing it. Is there a response to that?
It's patently false. He's negotiated his own contract with the NFL. He's hired and fired agents. The Tuohys have never had to sign off on any of that. He's done that all himself.
Is that typically how it would work with conservatorship, or are they working around the conservatorship in terms of the negotiations that he did on his own with the NFL, shoe deals, etc.?
Well, generally, all depending on what the circumstances are. Remember, this conservatorship was set up for the purpose that I indicated earlier, so that if he chose to go to Ole Miss, there would not be an issue about Sean being a booster. And that was the sole reason. And after that got done, nobody really gave a damn. So typically, there might well be the requirement of a conservator to execute a contract. Okay, but in this case, he would executed his own, and nobody ever objected to it. Certainly the Tuohys didn't object to it. They didn't want to know part of his money. They would have done anything to help him had he needed them to. But he negotiated his own deals and made his own money, and I think he made $35 million playing right tackle in football.
Just so I'm clear, it was $100,000, not 200, 225 that he was given for.
We believe it to be $100,000 per person, 5 shares.
And that was when the movie initially came out. Were there any more funds when this movie is in DVD sales and any other checks?
As time goes on, I expect there may be additional revenues.
So how much revenue did the Tuohys make off appearances? Do we do?
As I indicated, $100,000 per person, approximate. I'm guessing at it, but it's right around that number.
But that was for the contract. They also got 2.5% of the net proceedings, right? So
That's where the money comes from.
Okay.
So the 100,000 is both the initial, whatever is 14,000, whatever that was, plus you're estimating, if you, all the checks that have come total 100,000.
Right, yeah, remember, this is 48 hours old, so I don't have the numbers at the tip of my tongue, but that's,
It's over the span of time.
yeah, I believe that to be correct.
The reason why we didn't have this come more to the forefront earlier when the movie came out, because a big part of that was that he was adopted. Why was this now just coming to the
I didn't understand your question. What did you say?
So one thing that some of my coworkers were wondering is that a big part of the movie made it seem like he was adopted, and that was a big part of it. Why did it take so long from when that was going around and when that was making money to their conservatorship coming out even in 2011?
Well, even in the movie, I think there were reference to a conservatorship. I don't think there was a reference to an adoption in the movie. But to your point, they always treated him as a son. They took him into the family, did all the things that you would do for a son. So, why 2023 when he acknowledged in 2011 that there was indeed a conservatorship? You'll have to ask Mr. Oher that.
So Mr. Oher also, in addition to ending the conservatorship, looks like he's also looking to get, kind of back pay from what he thinks he's owed over time. Has he presented a figure to the Tuohys as to what he's looking for?
No.
Would you be willing, in addition to dissolving the conservatorship, to have an accounting of?
He's asked for an accounting. That'll be a pretty simple process, I expect.
Would you mind taking a step closer to the microphones? We're having some conferencing right now.
My wife tells me I'm too loud to start with.
So what comes next? It sounds like you're not going to fight ending this conservatorship.
No, we're glad. If that's what he wants to do is terminate it, we're glad to do so. As a matter of fact, it is our intent to offer to enter into a consent order as it relates to the conservatorship, and then if they have other issues, we'll deal with them.
How long would that take to get that order put in and signed and we're done with this?
It shouldn't be long.
What does it mean? Talking a week, talking 2 days?
Look, in this business, what I tell you it takes a week, may take a month. I can't tell you.
Do you think at any point we will hear directly from the Tuohys?
Possibly somewhere down the line, but look, these people are truly devastated. This was their son. This was somebody they treated as a son who has made public these allegations that are just ludicrous. So I can't stand in their shoes, but I can only imagine the devastation they must feel.
Michael has never, up until now, ever made any, I'm wondering if he's made any effort before now to, has he ever broached the subject of dissolving the conservatorship or ending it better before now?
Not to my knowledge. Of course, he alleges he didn't know about it until February 23. For whatever that's worth. Questions, anyone? Steve, maybe get y'all cookies. They're back there. Please take them.
Well, y'all have to eat too. So, if there are no further questions.
Say and spell your name for me, please.
Fishman. That's what my father told me.
Stephen, if you could do that as well.
Fares, F-A-R-E-S-E. If there are no further questions, we'll end the interview at this time, and thank you very much for coming.
And please get a cookie.
Aaron?
Y'all forgive me for sitting. I just, my legs won't work. So it's better than me knocking over the, which, by the way, I've done. So.
How you doing? Steve, good to see you this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.